All right, good morning. Uh, going to be in Matthew 23 and 24 for this morning. And there's quite a bit in here. So, uh, yeah, you listen or read along or whatever. Yeah, I'm just recording while I read, and if it's cool for my family one day, years down the road to have, then great. If not, then I just recorded while I'm reading. So, uh, uh, yeah, I'll just jump right in. So here we go, Matthew 23. Uh, then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, so you must obey them and do everything they tell you. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy loads and put them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for men to see. They make their phylacteries. I don't think I've ever seen that word in here, or maybe I just don't know how to talk or say it. But anyway, they make whatever that is wide, and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted in the marketplaces and to have men call them rabbi. Man, we're we're 7 verses in to Jesus Jesus teaching in Matthew 23, and yeah, already you can see he's talking about these guys who's like their entire mind was just their own pride and them, their own selves. But you are not willing to be called rabbi, for you have only one master, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven. Nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. The greatest among you will be your servant. For whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Again, when you have the legalistic mindset of things, you're not willing to gouge out your one eye if it sins. You're not willing to cut off one of your hands if it causes you to sin. And I seriously doubt you've stopped calling your father, father, and teacher, teacher here on earth. Um, sorry, just have to point out the inconsistencies of some people's, you know, Christian walk. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. Hey, just a minute. Hell, I don't know. One of the dogs wants to go do something. Um, okay, you hypocrites. You shut down, or you shut the kingdom of heaven in men's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. Woe to you, blind guides! You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he is bound to his oath. You blind fools, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing. But if anyone swears by the gift on it, he is bound by his oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. And he who swears by the temple swears by the one who dwells in it. And he who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and by the one who sits on it. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill, cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law: justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel. That's pretty good. All right. Verse 23. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean, we're at verse 25. Yeah. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and dishes, but inside they are full of greed and self indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean. All right, sorry, I'm taking a little break there for dog let out. Okay. We're at verse 27. Matthew 23, verse 27. Here we go. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside, you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside, you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build tombs for the prophets and decorate the graves of the righteous. And you say, if we had lived in the days of our forefathers, we would not have taken part with them in shedding blood, the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourselves that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up, then measure, uh, then the measure of sin of your forefathers. You snakes, you brood of vipers, how will you escape being condemned to hell? Therefore, I am sending you prophets and wise men and teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify. Others you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town. And so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah's son, um, of Berechiah, who you murdered between temple and the altar. I tell you the truth, all of this will come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you killed the prophets and stoned those who sent you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you to desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Hmm. Chapter 24. Jesus left the temple and was walking away with his disciples, or when his disciples came up to him and called his attention to its buildings. Do you see all these things? He asked. I tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and uh, when will be a sign of your coming and the and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen." Um, okay, such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these things, or all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you'll be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. You will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from their faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on let no one on the roof of his house go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get his cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your uh, flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never be equaled again. In those days, if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Christ," or "There he is," do not believe it. For false Christ and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect. If that were possible, uh, yeah, if that were possible. See that I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "There he is, out in the desert," do not go out. Or, "Here he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it. For as lightning uh, that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations on earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as the twigs are tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you will know that it is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth. This generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Okay, the day and the hour unknown. Verse 36. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came, and it took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Two men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding with a hand mill, one will be taken and the other left. Therefore, keep watching, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household to give them their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. I tell you the truth. He will put him in charge of all of his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, "My master is staying away for a long time," and he then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him to a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right, that was Matthew 24. Oh, yeah. There's, again, like, just so much in there. And um, I mean, there's just so much. Uh, this is also, you know, I don't know. To me, it seems like there's always, folks, you know, Christians we can fall into, like looking at how bad things are in, our, society, government, whatever, and think, oh, the end is coming, and it's getting closer and closer. And of course, that every day it's getting closer and closer. That doesn't mean it's tomorrow, or maybe it is, but you know, like Jesus is saying, in the days of Noah, everybody was normal, or doing their normal life, you know, even up until the day Noah got on the boat, and we're basically talking about like maybe one guy and his wife and family that knew what was coming, knew they needed to get on the boat at that time, you know, one guy and his family, you know, that were prepared, because they'd been preparing, uh, and instead, like, for us, it seems more intriguing to spend our time like guessing which signs of the end are like here, and what's still to come, and you know all this stuff, instead of you know preparing our own hearts, um, and you know and uh, you know helping other people come to know Jesus and all that kind of stuff, like we We should be. We're way more worried about, you know, well, this and this is happening, and those are part of the signs of the end. And some things may be, of course. It doesn't mean by any means like any one of us are going to know. Additionally, similar to the days of Noah, like we're basically like people walking by Noah's, you know, huge boat, and like that should be a sign to us that something's going on. But instead, we just like think that guy's crazy, and uh, you know, we're not going to listen to him. And you know, I think a lot of times we're doing that to Jesus, like like he's telling us this stuff, like really stop worrying about the end, the signs of the end. Be prepared. Like prepare your heart. You know, um, it's not even prepare your heart for the end. It's like prepare your heart, like as a as a Christ follower, as a person who has eternal life and going to heaven, like you know, uh, and then the whole thing in Matthew 23 with the woe to you to the hypocrites and Pharisees and all that stuff. It's stuff just like Matthew 23 that uh, I'm pretty sure that you know a lot of our modern church don't get um, because they don't see Jesus as being stern, firm, whatever you want to say, like, and being able to say to these, uh, you know, these are the head church people basically at that point for them. So, uh, I mean, in Matthew 23, he's not playing, Mr. Nice Guy, warm and fuzzy and that kind of thing. Like, so often we uh, like to think of Jesus as. It's just not happening. It's like he cares enough about them to say, what's actually going on and pointing out, like, you know, this is where you're screwing up and where you're really hurting other people. And just as they did, they get, instead of like recognizing the truth of what he's saying and the effects of what he's saying, um, they get mad at him, and then they basically turn around and blame it on him, like all this stuff, and it's just like it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing that happens today. Um, it's just wild. It's the exact same thing. Try and correct somebody at church, like in a genuine, you know, like manner when there's actually someone, for correction. Yeah, I'm not saying be irresponsible doing something like that. Um, but the majority, sadly, I fear that the majority of people would react like the Pharisees. Instead of hearing the truth or hearing the damage that you're doing, you will be offended, need to, defend yourself, and then even attack the person that's telling you the truth. Um, and that's this kind of mindset. And it's super easy to fall into. Don't get me wrong, and I'm certainly not condemning anybody that has it. It's just like uh, it's it's not the way of Jesus, and it's just sickening, and like Jesus is telling these guys, like, it's, you know, damaging people. You go out and find a convert, and then you teach him all of your stuff that's total garbage, and he's, twice the son of hell that you are. And it's just, you know, that's sad, and that's damage, and that's and I've seen this in people where they uh, a lot of folks need more structure than others. So it's like a lot of folks do much better if you just say, "Tell me the rules, and I will follow the rules," and that makes them feel like everything's taken care of. They're in good shape and all that kind of stuff. Well, it sounds easy enough, but there's truly no rules. You know what I mean? Like, um, I mean, of course, you can go by the Ten Commandments and that kind of thing, but um, as far as a legalistic type thing where you know you have to do this, 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 and this, to receive Jesus' forgiveness, it's just not like that. Other, than I know, believe in your heart and confess. I get that. I'm just talking about all these other things that are in here, rules wise. So, if you have people that do better in life when this is, you know, the actions and rules that you need to take and follow. On one hand, it's I appreciate that, idea, the mentality. Like, I get it. Like, you don't want to sit back and wonder, like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? All the time. So having those rules in place, and, being able to check the box can relieve that kind of anxiety. Um, on the same hand, the wrong person or people teaching you the rules, if there are some, can be disastrous. And and you know, I've seen that play out, especially for a friend of mine that got roped into Church of Christ. I know not all are like this one by any means, so I'm not lumping everybody together by any means, but um, just a guy with a good heart, and then trying to figure out uh, this Christian walk thing, and live how Jesus wants him to, and you get involved with a church that has very clear rules and very clear, like, you know mentality that we're the ones and this is the only one, and here's why, and we do it right and everybody else does it wrong, and all this kind of mess. And pretty soon, just like the Pharisees, just like the Jews in the Old Testament, just like, if you don't realize that you can't meet all the rules, then you end up, like, giving up, feeling like garbage, abandoning it, whatever, because you can't meet all the rules. And it's the same way in the Old Testament. Like, you can go and offer as many sacrifices as you want. You know, like, you're never going to meet all of these laws. That's like, I mean, I think when you try to meet all those laws, when you try to meet all the rules, when you try and do Christianity by meeting rules, you're eliminating the whole point and need of even having Jesus come and die, um, and be resurrected. Like, it's just, I don't know. I've seen the damage, I guess. Again, I've said this before. I've seen the damage that this Pharisee type mindset causes to people. And just as Jesus is saying, it's causing back then and still causing it today. And part of that mindset is the reason some of you have a problem with um, smoking cigars and reading the Bible at the same time. You have a law or a rule in your mind that you think is in here, and then instead of worrying about yourself, you need to apply a law that you came up with in your own head or that was taught to you falsely to somebody else. I mean, it's exactly what Jesus is talking about in Matthew 23. Don't even, I mean, yeah. Anyway, it's just super interesting. As you can see, the full Pharisee mindset, and it's been this way in Matthew. Uh, and it'll continue to be for a while. And then, early part of the New Testament for sure, with the Pharisees and just that, you know, legalistic type mindset of things that is so destructive. And obviously, it gets me going a little bit. And it's frustrating. It damages people. And truly, pushes them away from Jesus and everything that we're actually supposed to be doing. So, not that it's all grace and this and that. And so there's following Jesus, uh, loving Him and loving your neighbor, all this stuff. I don't know. Anyway, well, I better go. Get going for the day, and hope you guys have a good one. And I will see you back here tomorrow for I think Matthew 25. All right.